like log in for 5 minutes, my internet connection. It's like we're not even going to address. We're not even going to know that you're on the internet. It's like I was just on the internet. So I really do feel like Krishna is asking those questions. Are you really here? Do you really want to be here? The question is, the answer is yes. Yes, dear Lord. Yes, we are here. So thank you so much. So glad to be here this Ekadashi. Going to be super exciting, I hope. And of course, we're going to begin with our Mangala Charna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Vaishnav Thakur ki jai, Ekadasi Devi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So thank you once again. This is quite an exciting Ekadashi for me. This one is going to be like part one. We're going to do a two-part series because there are certain Vaishnava Acaryas that need more. And this is undoubtedly one of them. So this is part one in our small exploration of the glories of Lord Nityananda. So Lord Nityananda's appearance day is coming up right on Valentine's Day, which I love, and we'll get to know my love for Lord Nityananda as we go through this exploration. So Lord Nityananda's appearance day is coming up on Valentine's Day, February 14th. So there's this Ekadashi, there's the next Ekadashi, and then his birthday. But, you know, as we think about our Panchatattva, as we think about all of the Vaishnavacharyas that we've been hearing about, so many of them come from Chaitanya Lila. And without doubt, a favorite is Lord Nityananda. A favorite of the entire universe is Lord Nityananda. And why not? Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat go kind of in depth into the stories of Lord Nityananda. And we hear that he is none other than Balaram himself. None other than Lord Anantashesh, who holds up every one of the planets in creation for a really, really long time. And he is in the mood also of a devotee. And my Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, all of our spiritual teachers and so many of the Acaryas and teachers within our lineage have spoken about Lord Nityananda, saying that he is the embodiment, beautiful, perfect embodiment of a devotee. But transcendentally, he acts so whimsical. And whimsical is a really, really nice word for it. He's a little crazy. And this Nitai, none other than Balaram, and Srila Prabhupada often would say that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Nityananda is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The difference between the two of them is you have the Supreme Personality of Godhead who's now in the mood of the devotee, and then you have Sri Nityananda Prabhu who is also in the mood of a devotee, but just wanting to serve. And we see this in the case of Lord Balaram as well. Lord Balaram, manifestation of the Supreme Person, but now simply with this yearning to serve and serve and serve and serve to the utmost degree. And so Balaram, they say, will expand himself into anything, everything that is needed by Sri Krishna. So quite literally, Sri Balaram will expand into the land of Vrindavan. He will expand into the bedstead, the sitting place, the couches, fans, opulence, any kind of paraphernalia. Nectar Devotion describes that even the blooming of this desire for devotional service within the heart can only come about from a partial manifestation of Sri Baladev. So it is this same Balaram who now expands himself miraculously and becomes our Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu was born in Bengal, in a district of Bengal named Radhadesh. And within Radhadesh, there is a village by the name of Ekachakra. And within Ekachakra, this is where Nityananda took birth. And his parents were named Harai Pandit and Padmavati. And when they had Nitai, beautiful child, and not just his parents, but everyone in the village began to form their life around this child. He was everything for them. And they say that what Nitai loved to do most was to reenact the pastimes of Sri Krishna. He would reenact the pastimes of even Ram. He would reenact all the Das avatars, so Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, all of these pastimes. He would gather up all of his friends, and he would become director, producer, executive producer, screenplay writer. He would make sure that everything was running smoothly. And if we understand that this is this manifestation of Sri Baladev, who was used to expanding himself for every single one of Krishna's pastimes in any way that Krishna needed him to expand himself, even up to Balaram even expands himself as a gopi named Ananga Manjari in order to assist Sri Krishna's pastimes, even with the gopis in Radharani. Now, why would this need to happen? Well, Balaram, as the elder brother of Sri Krishna, usually is not present in the pastimes of Sri Krishna meeting with Sri Radha or with the other gopis. And simply because it's a little weird. It's kind of weird. You know, you go and you go around town and there's all these wonderful, wonderful ladies in the village. Krishna gives them sidelong glances and they give sidelong glances back to him. There's so many different things. And it's a little weird to have your older brother just kind of watching over your shoulder. So this is where the paths diverge. And it's said that even Balaram has his own separate group of gopis. So Sri Krishna has his group of gopis, Balaram has his group of gopis. Balaram even has a section of forests within Vrindavan that are just his. And Krishna has his section of forests within Vrindavan that are just his. And when they have pastimes like the spring festival of Holi and other pastimes, they would kind of split up into those different forests and split up into these two groups because nobody wants it to be that weird. So this Baladev, he would not always be present. And so he expands himself as Ananga Manjari, who is also, happens to be, the younger sister of Srimati Radhika. So Sri Baladev is so eager to serve that he's going to manifest any way possible. Where there's a will, there's a way. And I feel like Sri Baladev completely represents this will to serve, which I feel like so interesting that we'd be speaking about Baladev and Sri Nityananda this morning, because I feel like that was tested. How big, how deep is this will to serve? So, in the same way, Nityananda would produce all of these different pastime plays and dramas on the pastimes of Sri Krishna and even Sri Ram. And the villagers of Ekachakra would be completely baffled, even by how good these were. It's just amazing, these different dramatic productions. And the boys would get completely lost in them. For example, once they were performing one of Nitai's favorites, the pastime of Lord Ram. And Lord Ram and his brother Lakshman, they have to journey through the forest for 14 years, along with Sri Ram's wife Sita. As they're journeying, Sita is unfortunately kidnapped by a demon in the realist sense of the word. So sometimes, you look at somebody and you're like, oh, person's a demon, but we don't really, it's, metaphorical, it's figurative. Here, no, literally and figuratively, this was a demon. He kidnapped Sita. And Sita is in the clutches of this demon, held captive for about 10, 11 months almost. And Sri Ram has to go on an expedition and a journey in order to find her. And Lakshman goes with him. And so all of the different boys were assigned their parts, right? Because now this is a drama. Nitai gives out all the different parts. He, of course, will play the part of Lakshman. Go figure. Because he was also Lakshman anyway. So he decides, I will play the part of Lakshman. And they all get together. They have so many different adventures. The boys, they find different ways to grab stones and make a makeshift bridge across a river in order to be just like the bridge that Sri Ram builds to get across the sea in order to march into Lanka and somehow save his wife. They engage in a big battle for days and days. It's not like a one-day drama. They would continue on for days and days. And if anybody has watched kids play, this is exactly kids. They come up with a new game, and that game can take on a saga. I've seen it just recently. My daughter and my nephews embarked on an expedition game that has sagas and episodes. And every time they see each other now, they're trying to figure out what the next episodic adventure is of their show. All of it's completely made up. But here, Nita and all the boys, they have episodic adventures. So what adventure will they go on today? So they, as Ram and Lakshman and all of these Vanara, monkey soldiers, they march into Lanka. They begin the great battle against the demon king Ravan. Everything is very official, especially for small boys. And they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting and they're fighting. And the little boy who's playing Ravan gets very angry, sends the boy who's supposed to be his son, Indrajit. They try and fight with Ram and Lakshman. And Ravan sends a Shakti weapon, which is a little boy holding a lotus flower. And so this Shakti weapon is supposed to be the most powerful weapon in all of creation. Ravan shoots the Shakti weapon at Lakshman. The little boy throws the lotus flower at Nitai. And Nitai falls unconscious. Completely unconscious. All the boys look to the one boy who threw the lotus flower. What did you do? I did nothing. No. What did you do? They go and they try to wake up Nitai. Oh, Nitai, wake up. Nitai doesn't hear them. Nitai refuses to get up. Now they're desperately wondering, what did you do? I didn't do anything. Now they have to run to Nitai's parents, Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, who are now beside themselves. Nitai is unconscious. What is happening? The boys were just playing. They arrive on the scene and Nitai is still unconscious. And the poor little boy who has thrown the lotus flower is still claiming innocence. But now everyone is shaken up. They call doctors, they call philosophers, they call anyone they can. Does anyone know what will happen? How is this what's happened to our son? The village is wondering what's happened to our lives. Nitai was the life of their life. And he won't move. One very intelligent man steps forward. He said, I heard once that during the course of performing the different pastimes of the Lord, there are some who are so overtaken by the reality of these pastimes that they are unable to function normally. For instance, there was one such case of a play being done on the pastimes of Sri Ram, and when Ram leaves for the forest, the person playing Dasarath, Ram's father, gets so overcome by grief that he also fell unconscious. It looked as though he would lose his entire life. Maybe this is a case like that. Everyone looks around and they think, well, what to do? One boy steps forward. He says, I remember. Nitai told us before the start of this entire production. He told us that this would happen. Nitai said, I will play the part of Lakshman, and I will play it to a fault. Now, when the boy who's playing Ravan hits me with his Shakti weapon, you must go and find the boy who is playing Hanuman. Hanuman must journey to the Himalayas, get herbs from the mountains, bring them back, and then I'll come back. Now the boys, in the course of their game, oh yes, of course, no problem, because they understand how the game is supposed to go. But when Nitai actually fell unconscious, I kind of lost the whole concept of the game. So, now that they all remembered their roles, go, get the boy who's playing Hanuman. And so they bring Hanuman. They tell him about his expedition. You have to go to the Himalayas and get the Sanjeevani herbs, and you have to bring them back. And so the boy playing Hanuman goes and he forages through their little forest town. He goes and gets some herbs, pretend herbs, brings them back. Everyone heralds Hanuman as a hero. And he waves the herbs in front of little Nitai's nose, and Nitai comes right back to life. Oh, what's happened? Is the game over? Everyone is now quite relieved, but they're wondering, Nitai, how is this possible? How do you know all of these pastimes? And how are you following them so intensely? Nitai, in his own wonderful, inexplicable way, would just laugh and say, these are my pastimes. And somehow or other, everyone also laughed with him. What a sweet boy. Right? Just a boy. No problem. But Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita tell us that this is the essence of all spiritual teachers. This is the complete source of all gurus. All of our spiritual well-wishers and guides find their cause, their beginning, their end. They find all of the source of their knowledge, all of the source of their mercy in Sri Nityananda. And Sri Nityananda would go on many adventures in his town. Within that town of Ekachakra, one more happy one before we get on to slightly sadder topics. So one more happy one. In the village of Ekachakra, there was believed to be, in a very nearby kind of town, there was believed to be a very large snake. And this snake was kind of terrorizing people because they couldn't use that forest. If anyone ever went into the forest, they never returned. The snake would eat them. The snake was huge. Or so the legends would say. Now Nitai, being the rambunctious boy that he is, decides he's going to walk into that forest. And all the villagers are, no Nitai, anyone who goes there does not return. Why are you so restless? Why would you want to go there? Don't worry. And Nitai walks into this forest. He sees this snake. So it's not just legend. And the snake is bigger than a human, at least double the size. And he's huge. And Nitai says, "Hey, snake, stop there." Gorgovinda Maharaj says that when the origin of all Nagas, when Anantashesh himself tells you to stop and you are a snake, you obey. So the snake wisely stops there. And Nitai, with all the command that his little body can muster, asks, "Why are you terrorizing these people? Stop doing this." And the snake says, "I have nowhere else to go. This is my nature. This is what I do." Nitai says, "Well, why is this what you do? Why are you here?" The snake says, "Once upon a time, the Pandavas, Yudhishthir, Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sadev, we've spoken about them before. They were wandering through the forest after having escaped a burning palace and some political intrigue set upon them by their cousin brothers, which is a fancy way of saying murder plots. So they escaped this murder plot, political intrigue. And they're wandering through the forest because Kunti Devi, along with their mother, Kunti Devi says, "We are not going back." Why are we not going back to the palace? Why would we go back to the situation where they continuously try to kill us? We're not going back. This is one death threat too many. She decides we'll live out our days in the forest, we'll find another kingdom, we'll do whatever needs to happen, but we're not going back there. So they wander through the forest and they come to a spectacular village named Ekachakra. Now, the interesting thing about that village is the village is doing fine, except for they have one cause of anxiety. There is a demon named Bakasura. Now, we've heard about another Bakasura who took the form of a great bird. This Bakasura did not take the form of a great bird, but this was quite a massive demon. He would say every family, every year, would have to send one family member along with a cartload of rice and other vegetables and cooked items. And this was going to be the demon's dinner, which already sounds like something out of a fairy tale, right? You've got these huge giants doing a fee, fi, fo, fum. You all have to send like one family member. And so the Pandavas and their mother were staying with a Brahmin and his family. And it comes time for that Brahmin to have to send a family member. Now, the Brahmin had children, but they were quite small. And even though he had children and they were quite small, which person is saying, well, I've got children to spare, no problem. Just take any one of them. So now everyone's trying to figure out which family member do we send? How do we choose? It's like Hunger Games before Hunger Games. Like, what are we doing? So the smallest of the boy, maybe 5 years old, he says, "Don't worry, I'll go. I'm strong. I can beat up the demon with my stick." And all the family members simultaneously laugh and cry. Right? The boy is so sweet that you can't help but laugh, but the situation is so dire that there's also tears. They have a young girl and she says, "Let me go." The girl in a family often goes to another family, and so sometimes she's not even considered a permanent member of the first family. So it's technically, "I can go. You are going to have to let me go anyway." The father says, "What kind of logic is this? Let me go. I'm the head of the family." Now, this goes around for quite some time. Finally, Kunti hears of their lamentation and says, "What's the problem?" They explain to her their dire situation. And while usually no one would say, "I have children to spare, take one of mine," Kunti Devi says exactly this. "I have 5 sons. Take one of mine." And they're thinking, "Impossible. Not only are your sons as precious as my children, but you are our guest. How could it be that a guest who is treated as good as the supreme personality of Godhead, now you want us to send one of our guests to certain death?" Unheard of. Absolutely not. Just trust me. And of course, I know exactly which of my sons to send. She asks Bhima, "Bhima, you go. defeat this demon. Bhima is all too eager, not just for the good fight with the demon, but because there is a cartload of food. And Bhima is thinking, good. During this forest expedition, I feel like I've been deprived this entire time of eating my fill. So much the better. So Bhima gets on a cart, and it says by the time that they reach the demon's cave, Bhima has already eaten all the food on the cart. And he continues to eat more and more and more while he's calling out to the demon, hey, demon! Finally, this Bakasura comes out, and he's completely enraged. His dinner has eaten his dinner. And so Bakasura and Bhima begin to do battle with one another, fighting hand-to-hand combat, wrestling, all kinds of things. And when the other Pandavas return, they ask their mother, well, where is Bhima? And she tells them the situation, and many of them are completely at ease. They understand. But Yudhishthira is thinking, now, is this what? Is this right? How could we have done this? Why are we worrying? As though we don't understand and have faith in who our Bhima is. But for the sake of protecting all of the brothers, Yudhishthira says, we should come up with some plan. Bhima's been gone far too long. Okay. So they all decide that they will go to this cave of Bakasura and make sure that everything is taken care of. Now, in order to save time, Arjuna, who is a master of weapons, he says, I have a very special weapon. It's called a Nagpash. This Nagpash is like a snake rope. These are the weapons of Varuna. And so what he does is he sends a Nagpash ahead of him. And this snake weapon, what it does is, not only is it a rope, but it is, I originally used to think that the Nagpasha, the snake ropes, were figurative because they would bind up the enemy, quite like a snake. No. Vedic science is quite exact. This Nagpash was quite literal. It is a rope that turns into a very large snake that then surrounds its victim and clings for a very long time, quite like a boa constrictor, just no way to get out of them. This Nagpash weapon has been experienced by great personalities like Bali Maharaj and the grandson of Shri Krishna, Aniruddha, and others. And so now this is the snake rope weapon that Arjuna sets out, go, find Bhima. So this snake rope goes, gets there, and then all the rest of the Pandavas get there. But by the time they get there, and the snake weapon, they all get there, Bhima's already killed the demon. Bhima thinks, why did you all have to come here? Did you not think I could handle it? But no, we do. There is the one problem, though, of this snake rope. The snake rope says, well, you've released me, now what do I do? And Arjuna says to the snake rope, well, you stay here, right in this forest, within the village of Ekachakra. He says, you stay here. He says, well, what will I live on? He says, well, if any humans come into this forest, you can eat them. No problem. But don't leave the forest and go trouble anybody else. Just eat whatever comes by. Okay? So now this snake is looking at Lord Nityananda saying, I've been here ever since. They told me this is where I should stay. Nitai says, stop troubling the townspeople. He says, well, Nitai, what should I do? He says, I want you to go and stay underground. He says, well, how will I maintain myself? What will I eat? I'm in the same predicament. He says, don't worry. I will make a situation, an arrangement where all of the people will gladly, willingly come and present offerings to you. And as they present offerings to you, you can eat those offerings. And then you won't disturb or kill anyone, and everyone will be free to roam the forests again. And what Nitai does is he removes his right earring. The snake goes underground. Nitai removes his earring and he puts it on top of this mound of earth. And it marks the spot where the snake is. And people go and they make offerings where Lord Nityananda's earring was. And the snake is able to eat. And it is for this reason that many of our Acaryas popularly say that Lord Nityananda only wears one earring in his left ear, because forever he honors the promise that he gave to that one snake. This is our Nitai. He is quite mysterious. He is an avadut, which I said is very fancy for a little crazy. You can never really tell what he's going to do next. In fact, no one can tell what he's going to do next. He usually acts according to his own whims and his own will, except for the only person he will listen to really is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There he finds himself completely overtaken. Anything that Mahaprabhu would ask him, he'll do. Anybody else, though, it's a free-for-all. No one can tell. Even Mahaprabhu can't really tell what he'll do next, or why he does the things that he does. And oftentimes Mahaprabhu would be asked, why is Nitai so restless? Mahaprabhu, who can estimate why Nitai would do anything that Nitai would do? And a very famous pastime, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has just taken sannyas. And he has a danda. And he goes to bathe in the Ganges. And while he's bathing, what does Nitai do? Nitai takes his danda, cracks it in 3 places, throws it on the ground, and then commences to act as though he did nothing. Lord Chaitanya comes back onto the banks of the river and sees that clothes are there, everything is fine, except for his danda is now completely broken. Right? The danda, or the staff of a renunciate, is one of the key things, like key iconographies of a sannyasi. And his is broken. All of the power of the demigods is meant to reside within this staff of the sannyasi. Broken completely, no problem. And so he asks Nitai, oh Nitai, why have you done this? Nitai simply laughs. There's no explanations given, at least that day. And this is kind of a hallmark of Nityananda's activities. He's so much like this, but also extremely compassionate. He would take the instructions literally. If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you go and you preach to everyone who needs it most, Nitai was going to go and preach to everyone who needed it most. He would see drunkards, and he would see people, and he would pass by, and they would say things like, oh, I like that Chaitanya. I like that Mahaprabhu person. He goes and he dances around town, and he looks a little bit drunk, and they would also try to imitate, because they also looked a little bit drunk, but they were a little bit drunk. And this would invigorate Nityananda. These are the people. Let's go save those people. And usually devotees like Advaita Acharya and Haridas, who were normally charged with going out with Nitai on different Sankirtan missions, would wonder why. Why these people? Why these people? These are the people that need it most. Who could need it more than them? They're searching after a happiness that only can be found within pure love of God. Who else would we preach to? And this is Nityananda. This is the mood of Guru. Ultimate compassion. Savior of the fallen. So this is our Nityananda. He is 12 years older than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at around that time, a sannyasi, mostly unknown, arrives in the village of Ekachakra. And he is served by many of the townspeople, including Hadai Pandit and Padmavati, the parents of Lord Nityananda. And as this sannyasi is getting ready to leave, he says, and the family says, what can we offer you? How can we serve you? The sannyasi says, well, I'm about to go on yatra, on pilgrimage. which, very different from the yatras and the pilgrimages that we have today. Like, you see somebody, I'm going on a retreat, and it's kind of like spa filled and like glamping, it's really nice. But this sannyasi is like, no, he's really going on an actual yatra, or a pilgrimage. He says, but I don't have anyone to accompany me. I need a good Brahmin boy. Give me your son. Hadai Pandit and Padmavati felt as though their heads had been completely smashed by thunderbolts. Like their lives were on the line. This entire village of Ekachakra runs on making Nityananda happy. You want my son? Even famously said Hadai Pandit, he starts to wonder, is this what Dasarath felt? When Vishwamitra, the great sage, the great Muni, came and asked for Ram, to take Ram into the forest with him. We understand that there is a higher power and a great reason behind it, but how can I maintain my life in Nitai's absence? What will I do? But how can I refuse? This is my ultimate duty. I've asked this sannyasi, how can I serve you? What can I give you? And the only thing that he's asked for is this. How can I refuse him? How can I dare say no? So with heavy hearts, tearful eyes, they allow their son Nityananda to travel with the sannyasi. Nityananda goes on pilgrimage for the next 20 years. 20 years. And at the end of those 20 years, he hears a very interesting fact. He visits Vrindavan, and he's in Vrindavan for quite some time. And while he is in Vrindavan, he looks, and he says he looks in all of the temples. But in every single one of the temples, as he looks, something feels strange. He feels as though all of the deities are missing. So he goes around Vrindavan asking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Many people, the deity is here. No. Something is missing, the vital force of this deity. Where is Krishna? Finally, he hears a whisper. Krishna has now taken birth within Gaudadesh, in Navadvip. Krishna is in Navadvip. Krishna is in Navadvip. So with this in his heart, and this desperation to want to go and meet Krishna, to go and find his other half, he journeys from Vrindavan to Navadvip. And that's where we'll end. Now we'll have to come back next Ekadashi to hear part 2 of the glories of Lord Nityananda just before his birthday.
All wonderful. See, Acyuta Gopi Prabhu is getting more and more like a filmmaker. She breaks it down into parts, part 1, part 2. Oh, you're really professional. Thank you very much. I like the point how Lord Nityananda is an avadut, is very advanced but a little intense, a little weird, right? Is that an unusual?
So weird.
I don't want to offend Lord Nityananda, but yeah.
I think he already knows. I think he did it on purpose.
Yeah, thank you very much. Would anyone like to reflect, Bhima Prabhu?
Yeah, it's us. We got it all backwards. It's us who is weird.
Yeah.
Nityananda is not weird at all. It's just us. That's all I got to say. We're the weird ones.
Yeah.
Hari bol.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, when I was when you were telling the story, how they would have to choose who to send to the snake, I was thinking, yeah, I would send Bhima Prabhu to the snake. He would have dealt with the snake. They preached to him, engaged the snake in devotional service. Maybe he would have given him a ride on the horse or something.
I would have stomped him with the horse. Actually, I wouldn't have. Actually, wasn't he a friend? Yeah, he was a friend. So no. I just prayed with him a little bit, party on. That would be my time.
Yeah, I think that snake was just as eager to hear about these miraculous pastimes of Nita as everybody else was. Can only imagine the snake must have been completely enamored, thinking, "Here is my master," you know?
Okay. Yeah, devotees, feel free to unmute yourself. And in the meantime, there's some appreciations in the chat. William says, Haribol, thank you for such a wonderful class. Sorry, but have to get my daughter to school. Yes, William. Hare Krishna. We can hear you. Thank you, Acyuta Gopi, for a lovely Ekadasi class. Hare Krishna, Julia says. Adana Kali Das, Prabhu. Wonderful class as always. Thank you. Jamuna Jaya, many thanks. Can't wait for the next installment. Yes. Hemangi, Hare Krishna, such a beautiful class as always. Thank you so much, Mataji. And there's a little flower. Andrea says, love the cliffhanger. Yes. See, I told you, she's a movie maker. Okay.
Yeah, the next one is going to be really exciting. So make sure you come back. This one was the setup, because how do we establish our Nitai and get into amazing, incredible pastimes all at once? So
Yeah. And yesterday I was at the park with my daughter, and they were playing, and they were enacting SpongeBob. And I was like, gosh, you're this is a starfish character who's extremely dumb. What's his name? Patrick, and some other characters. And I don't want to be Patrick. I'll be SpongeBob. And so I was thinking, yeah, New York City is so tough. It's so tough. It's so rough. They enact in SpongeBob, and that takes its toll instead of enacting some devotional things. So.
One of the coolest moments that I experienced, I think I was in New Vrindavan or somewhere, and there were these young boys, and they were all outside, like on the lawn, and we were at a festival, and the boys were kind of talking to each other, and one of the boys was saying, "I'm going to be Vishwambar," and then the other one was like, "No, I'm going to be Vishwambar," and I was thinking, my God, these children. They're talking about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. No.
Yeah.
They were talking about the Kirtaniya Vishwambar. I'm going to be Vishwambar. No, I'm going to be Vishwambar. And I was like, wow, my friends. And then the other one said, well, fine. If you are going to be Vishwambar, then I'm going to be Ananta Govinda. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I did. I felt a little bit of pride that these children have used my brothers as action figures.
Yeah. How is he doing? Where is he?
Ananta, he's good.
Yeah.
He's good. He's where everybody's here. And today is like one of those days. I was like, I have to speak about the village of Radhadesh during Radhadesh Mellows while I am not at Radhadesh Mellows. So I felt a little bit like I could understand the love and separation.
Yeah. His kirtans are extraordinary. When I first start coming to the Bhakti Center, you and him, you were doing kirtan on the second floor at the old temple room. And it just blew my mind. I had never heard anything like that. It was so emotional, so fast. It was fast. My God, it was really, really fast.
So fast, so good too.
Yeah.
He's really a mind reader when it comes to kirtan and kind of reading what someone might want for mridanga beats. So yeah, he makes me really reflect that these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are absolutely real. Because when they talk about all of these pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he would be enlivened by passionate mridanga players who would play very loud, intricate beats on the mridanga. Right? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has written that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would become enlivened and he would become hungry for more and more Harinam, being spurred on by all of these wonderful mridanga players. And I'm always so sure that my brother must have been there because he's so good at it. And he gives everything. It is a complete meditation. He absolutely holds nothing back when it comes to kirtan.
Yeah. I wanna be like Ananta Govinda Prabhu when I grow up. It's so nice to have an outlet and to have a way of applying our talents in devotional service. That's the best. We're all set. If you find your niche, if you find something you're good at, offer it to Krishna, please the devotees, like Ananta Govinda is doing. That's like back home, back to God. That's a ticket. That's a pass.
And I have no doubt that everybody has something that they're good at. Something that Krishna is just waiting to say. Okay, that's the thing. That's your thing. So even if you think you don't have a thing, you have it. It's just not been discovered yet. And Krishna already knows it. It's just us, like waiting for us to get with the program.
If you think you don't have a thing, you have a thing. Yeah, nice. I like it. That's my takeaway. Okay. Isabel says, love to hear these pastimes, Hare Krishna. Andrea says, you've made me excited to make Valentines for my Nitai Guru Sundara deities. Bhima Prabhu, I clean paddocks, that's my skill. Stalls. He's a very exalted devotee here. Bhima.
Yeah. So everybody, you should. Your Supreme Valentines. I think Nitai has made it quite easy. And he's very handsome. He's extremely handsome. I have an Ananta Shila who was previously worshipped in the mood of Lord Nityananda. And so I'm like kind of planning out, I'm like, what is Ananta Dev going to wear? How am I going to have to make it like really special? Nityananda Trayodashi is one of my favorite festivals. It marks the end of my winter Lamentations because festivals resume again. So it's definitely a festival for me.
Nice. Okay, would anyone else like to share anything? We have smiley faces in the chat. Come on, devotees, turn your camera on, say something. Who's AJ? I'm curious. AJ, who are you? What's your social security number?
Isn't that Arjuna?
Right. Okay. All right, Acyuta Gopi, Devi Dasi Prabhu, thank you very much for the beautiful class this morning, for always inspiring us in the middle of this deep, deep winter when there's nothing to look forward, like you said. We will always look forward to your classes, to part 2. There's something to look forward to now. So thank you very much.
I'm so excited. This lecture, if you thought this one was a movie, the next one.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, dear devotees, have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful Ekadasi. Good luck with your whatever you're cleaning up. Bhima Prabhu is cleaning up some things, and we all have stuff to clean up. And that's our thing. So good luck with that. Thank you very much, Acyuta Gopi, again. We look forward to your next installment, and have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hemangi, thank you.